This week in comic books, DC busted us out with some more Night Terror this week. We're going to talk about insecurities a little bit. Over in the lanes of Marvel, we get Rebellion. And man, that is just some trash. I'm going to tell you why. You're going to enjoy it. But I'm going to make it up with two good Marvel books as well. And in Independence, all I picked up was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Street Fighters. Although this issue, it's not versus, we found a reason to team up. So we're going to talk about all those and a few other comic books. But first, let me sell you some coffee. Hey, what's going on, folks? This is your boy Pocan Joe to talk to you about Coffee Brand Coffee. We serve people that are tired of gimmicky advertising and branded companies that want to lecture you. At Coffee Brand Coffee, all we want to do is serve you freshly roasted coffee wherever you're at, whenever you want it. Consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Check us out, check our reviews out, and use promo code POCANJOE or the link down in the description to save yourself some money. Give me the opportunity to get you a delicious cup of coffee. Coffee Brand Coffee. Alright guys, let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about DC this week. We're going to hit up that Night Terror stuff. First up off the bat, I got the Nightwing issue, number 1. This was good. Cool cover. Not the hugest Nightwing fan out there. I know some of you are like, that's your guy. And I'm sure you read this one. And probably meant a lot to you. Because what you saw in this is a lot of Nightwing's past being brought back up. The death of his parents. That was the whole thing that made him become a Robin and then eventually break off to be Nightwing. And a lot of his insecurities. Does this kind of stuff make you crazy? And then ultimately affecting him by watching Batgirl being brought into the mental asylum that he's trapped in his little nightmare, seeing Batgirl, who they've built a relationship with as well. I really like what Insomnia is doing. Because what he does is he doesn't just attack one insecurity or one fear. He just keeps hitting it until he can get max effect from you. It's kind of like this growing cycle that we're seeing throughout everybody's nightmares that Insomnia seems to be inducing onto people. I'm enjoying it, though, for the most part. We're going to talk about one maybe. I was kind of like, whoa. But for right now, really good. One that I thought was extremely underrated was the Wonder Woman issue. First off, I don't know where they got the idea for that cover, but that is an awesome cover. And more importantly, what we see in this one is we see John Constantine using woo-woo magic to meet up with some other people. In this particular one, Wonder Woman, hence the title, right? And Detective Chimp. Now, I know Detective Chimp can seem like a gimmicky, campy sort of character, but we're going to set him off to the second. So in this one, just like anything else, right? You're not good enough. The fears and terrors of the things around you being hurt and destroyed. For Wonder Woman and for John Constantine, his obvious relationship, the fact that he can't have a meaningful relationship because he's a douchebag. Most importantly, and the thing that they just kind of just shot and just showed it for a second was Detective Chimp running away from a man with a little accordion and a monkey, right? Like the monkey's is their first show type of thing that you would see, kind of tropey. And that derived from something that was said to him by John Constantine, like, hey, settle down, otherwise I'm going to do this to you. I thought that was great, but most importantly, if you think about the character Detective Chimp, right, he's a chimp. That's gimmicky. He knows he's a chimp, which makes it even gimmicky to him, but his relationship with the world around him, like, he may be seen as kind of this fun toy thing when he's probably one of the best detectives in the DC universe. Batman goes to Detective Chimp for help when he needs detective work on magical woo-woo stuff. Like, he's the guy. And he may not be always taken seriously because he's a chimp, a primate, if you will. So, I wish they kind of focused, like, gave that a few more panels or a few more pages to kind of flesh that section out. Because we did it with everybody else, and it's the same stuff with all of them. But yeah, I wish they would have done that. But definitely, what do you think? Let me know down below. Are you a Detective Chimp fan? By any chance? I am. A little monkey in an outfit makes me laugh. Point to what I was talking about. Next, we get Punchline. This one kind of confused me. So this whole thing, the majority of it, 90% of it, 95% of it, is just Punchline kind of mentally monologuing what's going on in this little nightmare that she's in and her constant battle against, again, Batgirl in here. Batgirl being featured a lot. and how she just can't get away from her. It keeps hunting her down, even turns into a zombie, and then turned into like this weird cyborg zombie thing. But really, the villain had a fear, or maybe even an insecurity, of Batgirl in this situation. I didn't find this totally relevant. And I've seen this with Punchline, and it's really a shame. Because I think the character can be used very well, right? We just haven't seen it since her first, like, 5 issues back in that Joker run from a while ago. Everything else just seems kind of campy and kind of forced into play. And we read a lot of mental monologue from her, and she's not, like, deep or anything. It's pretty shallow, just telling you what's happening in the panel and kind of her emotional state at that point. Like, we couldn't figure it out. That's what you used their artwork for. So, all in all, cool cover, but so far, this is probably the worst one that I've read yet in this series. Next, Superman. So we kind of get to deal with Superman in Night Terror, right? And you should already kind of know what his insecurities and fears are. One, not being able to save his friends and family. Boom, that happens in here. 2, becoming so powerful, right, that he's in charge of everything and almost becomes like a fascist type state, right? Boom, we've seen this too. This kind of gets played and rolled in here. And while all this is happening, he fell asleep while he was flying, crashes into the ocean, and gets brought to shore. And in this issue, we find out for some reason the Atlanteans are not affected by what had happened to everybody else in the surf world. Now, you can say, well, they're underwater. So you got like Aquaman, Mura, God knows how many kids he has now, the fake Aquaman character, like all those guys, right? They're standing in the ocean, scratching their heads, trying to figure out why everybody's asleep, going and possibly whatever they're going through. I'll say it, I'm not an Aquaman fan. I mean, fish whispering just doesn't really seem like an important thing to me. That's sad, but I don't like any of the Atlanteans. What do you think about that? Hashtag Atlantean hate. Okay, moving on. Catwoman. This one threw me for a loop too. I'm not sure what's going on in here. So if you didn't know, Catwoman has a sister. And of course, whenever you do like a sister or brother type of thing in comic books, they have to be the complete and exact opposite from the other one. So the sister, of course, is a nun, and who has superpowers. Or not superpowers, but she kind of fights evil, right? She's a superhero, anti-hero. It's kind of weird to describe her because you don't really know if she's like just a religious zealot or if she has like really good intentions. Now, when she's in her nun outfit doing nun stuff, like she's feeding the hungry, she's praying for people, you know, all those things that you can kind of respect. I get that. But for the most part, this was just her sister interacting throughout various things in here, thinking that the Joker has something to do with everything that's going on, not realizing that she's sleeping in a nightmare. I don't know. I want to like it, but I don't. So I'm just going to go with that. Well, I didn't like it. I hate to do this, right? Because now it's easy to watch this and say, well, you just don't like strong female characters, right? That's easy enough to say. And I would say, haha, I don't like any superhero, right? I'm a villains guy. But I don't know. It just read very bland to me. It's not me. If you're going to give me a strong female character, whether it's Punchline, Catwoman, nun, sister, you know, super religious chick, you know, if you're going to give those kind of characters, then they can't come off in a boring manner. And that's how they've been displayed to me this far. Do they do cool things in the company? Yeah, they do flips, kick people in the face, karate chop them, you know, whatever the case may be. But for the most part, whenever they're talking, it's always this kind of, I don't know, long, drawn-out monologue. It doesn't make any sense. It's like when my wife asked me, well, what do you want to do for dinner? Over and over and over again. Okay, moving on. Something I like this week, and it's kind of detached from the whole, or at least right now it is, it's kind of detached from the Night Terror thing, is Vigil. I like this. I like Vigil. I think it's good. I think Ram V's doing a great job on this. I can't tell you how cool it is because right now you have action stuff going on, but none of that stuff matters because right now we have trust issues in the team. We have a new liaison from the government that has to work with Vigil as the group, right? And she's basically writing out in this one. This is a good example of a good female character. She's writing out about, and it's mental monologuing, but it's kind of a flashback, if you will. She's kind of talking about this particular mission and how these people are just insane nuts and need to be disbanded because they cannot be trusted. In the meantime, while this mission's going on, one of the members of Vigil transforms himself in his face and everything and literally lives a day in her shoes, finding out about her friends, family, past, current relationships, and tells the leader, or the field operations guy, if you will, that we can trust her. She doesn't tell anybody anything. She doesn't really interact when it comes to anything that we do. While at the same time, she's writing in a report that this team needs to be disbanded and goes away. Right? You have a boss that's sketchy at best, right? You got a kid that's literally a psychopath. Like this American psychopath, right? You got a guy who's hot-tempered and just wants to blow everything up. And you got a shady, sneaky guy who can change his face and become anybody he wants to, right? And she's like, nah, this is not a thing we need to be associated with. And they're like, oh, we can trust her. But let's get some leverage against her just in case. Yeah, they did that. It's a shit team. It really is. All right, moving on into Marvel, Blade 1. So if you like Wesley Snipes and the movie Blade, you're going to like this. The talking, the dialogue, the interaction with other people, very similar to what you would remember from that if you enjoyed those movies. In this one, we're doing some of my favorite stuff. We're taking ancient mythology stories from different parts of the world. We're bringing back an ancient evil. The monster world, that dark world, is kind of all wigged out about this thing coming, and they set up Blade for a trap. And this religious group is going to kill him, but one of the members is like, no, wait, we can use him, right? He killed our hero, the person that was supposed to kill this great evil. Blade killed it, but maybe we can talk to him and work a deal with him. And of course the religious zealots are like, nah, let's just kill him. So she saves him along with an agreement, hey, you got to help me get rid of this ancient evil thing. I love this, and I hope that this is kind of just a sneak of us kind of tying in with the whole Immortal Hulk thing, where they're really going down the monster route over there with this ancient evil coming as well. Are they connected? I don't know. I hope they are, though, because I think that would make a bigger... Like, I'm not saying we have to do a huge crisis like we do in every comic book series, but it would be kind of cool to see a small one where a few comic books kind of put together to kind of test this. Plus, it's that time to see. The new trend is horror. Everything's horror right now, so you might as well just play into it. Next, Rebellion. The Rebellion. This is trash. I'm gonna tell you why. And this is a subjective opinion, right? I'm not giving a professional overview here. This is just something that I read, and I'm giving you my views on it. And I'm saying it's trash. Here's why. Okay, so this takes place right before the Battle of Endor. You remember the movie, right? They're going to go to Endor. They're going to go destroy the Death Star, or the rebuilding of the Death Star. And General Akbar, that guy, he's like, it's a trap. That guy, right? Okay, there he's flying his flagship. He's got a senator on board. He gets intel from one of his spies, Akbar. He's like, hey man, somebody's going to kill the senator. It's kind of the word I'm getting. So he goes and tells the senator lady. Senator lady's like, she's like, what? He's like, hey, we got some good intel that somebody's going to, assassinate you. And she's like, nah, don't worry about it. We're good. She says this. I don't want to waste the resources from the war to protect me. Now, first off, I'm not sure how much resources you need to protect you. Literally lock you in a room in a hiding place someplace. That's not resources. That's just using what you have at hand. But whatever, I'll just ignore that. We'll just, it works if you don't think about it. So we're just going to go ahead. Akbar doesn't like this, so he's going to go down and he's going to talk to two people. He's like, hey, go find out what's going on here. Try to be all covert about it. So what do? They go start a bar fight trying to find out who this assassin is. Because, covert. It works if you don't think about it. Find out where the assassin is. They're going to go to the planet. They're going to first off, the assassin. This is proof that somebody's just phoning in stuff. They took possibly two recognizable characters and just kind of smushed them together. And were like, ta-da, the assassin, half android, half weird alien guy with big eyes. It's so bad. It works if you don't think about it. And then out of nowhere, they're going to engage the assassin, but then the senator shows up and shoots the assassin in the back. End of story. Welcome to Star Wars 2023. Again, it works if you don't think about it. Now, you're probably saying, oh, you're just picking and choosing various things that you didn't like in it. No, that is a synopsis of the story. Hear me now, believe me when you read it yourself. That is the flow of that story. Did stuff happen in between? Of course, but nothing outside of relative to what I've said. Just saying. I could eat this book alive. But again, and for the last time, it works if you don't think about it. I promise you. Alright, next, something good. Moon Knight, City of the Dead. So this is good. This was good. Of course, Scotty Young cover. Wife collects Scotty Young, she gets Scotty Young. So Moon Knight kind of does this, I don't know. I want to say this is different, but I don't think it's like so different, like out of spectrum for him. If you don't know, kind of Moon Knight's whole thing is he's a glutton for punishment. Like, he's the kind of superhero that you just beat down to the ground, but he doesn't quit, right? And this is due to the fact of his past sins, if you will, or mistakes that he's made. He feels that this is a punishment that he should take on. And this kind of gets highlighted in this book, almost in a sad way. But to catch you up, there's a religious group out there. What is it with religious groups this week? It's weird. Anyway, ancient Egyptian religious group. Basically just no thugs that love to dress up like jackals. They're chasing a kid down an alley. Moon Knight shows up. He's like, nah, you ain't touching the kid. They get into a fight. He beats the hell out of all of them. Pow, 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 pow. Takes a little bit, takes a beating like he does, but ultimately wins the fight. And unfortunately, the kid ends up dying in the crossfire, right? And just sets Moon Knight off, right? Because now he has to be the Sebastian of life, right? He is the right hand of Khonshu, right? The protector of the travelers at night, right? So the kid's possibly dying, but he takes it to a buddy, and they keep the physical body alive, right? With machines and everything else. Moon Knight gets an idea. He goes, I know where the kid's soul is. I'll just go get the kid's soul, and we'll bring it back. So he goes into the afterlife, the Egyptian afterlife. That's very key to Moon Knight. Goes there. For some reason, like, the main guys do not want to talk to him, and this religious group is there. So Moon Knight chases around trying to find this kid's soul, and it's like people are purposely trying to keep the soul hidden. And kind of ends there with, well, it leaves you on a cliffhanger. Remember, Moon Knight's killed a lot of people, and they know he's there now. So that glut for punishment thing's starting to come back, right? Where you're just going to take a beating, but have to keep trying. Great story. Enjoyed that a lot. Next, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Street Fighter, or versus Street Fighter, but not so much in this issue. They fight back and forth in this one because of attitude and ego, right? That's really what this is about. Especially in competitive sports, it would be a very common thing. But in here, we finally find out that we do have a common enemy and we need to work together. It's not me, it's not you, it's them. So let's work together to get them, as Raphael and Chung-Li. Raphael and Chung-Li get kidnapped, right, by M. Bison and his crew, right? I like it. And, it's not that it's a complicated story or even really a deep story, right? I've said it before, it's just nostalgia pills for me. Remember Street Fighter the game? How do you get in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles running around? It's a blast from the past for me. Yeah, I'm going to read that. And then you give it a little bit more of an adult context, because comic books are not made for kids anymore. You'll know that after you read this. Artwork is brilliant in this. Dialogue makes sense. Each character has their own voice, and it even sounds like the characters that you remember back in the day. Great stuff. And that's my haul for this week. What did you think about it? Definitely let me know down below. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing, or even hitting that notification bell. whatever you feel like doing. It's a small click for you, but it means a lot to me here at the Old Comic Book Review. Other than that, folks, I got nothing else. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.